playing card simulation with you and just kind of give you an overview of how to set up simulations in general using CODAP. So under plugins, you're going to see a sampler, and that's the default. And again, I'm going to put a deck of cards in, and I'm only focusing on the attribute of whether it's black or red. And I realized I could put in just a B and an R and be done. But what I want to do is I want to, signify all 26. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6. And I'll do the same thing for red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And I'll hit OK, and you'll notice the sampler fills up. So I have options as well. I've got with replacement, which is what I want to do. I'm going to draw a card, have it selected, and then I'm going to put it back in and reshuffle. And so the sampler is going to do that for us. So what I want to do, first of all, I'm just going to show you, I want to select 2 cards. So I'm going to select 2 items. And I want to do 100 samples. And I'll show you how this starts out, and then I'll speed it up. But I want to do 100. So, and then all I have to do is press. And if it's on medium, it'll show you kind of how this fills up. But what I want to do is I want to speed it up because I want to get this done faster. So I turn up to fastest, it kind of rolls it out. And you're going to notice that you have 3 different sets here. You've got the number of samples. Well, first of all, you have the first experiment. You have the number of samples, and you also have the value within each of those samples. So if I click on sample 63, I'm going to see that a red and a red was collected. 55, again, another red and a red is collected. So I can go all the way up if I want. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on here. So what I want to do is under sample, what I want to do is I want to collect and determine the number of black cards that were drawn. So I'm going to create an attribute, and I'm just going to call that number black cards. Okay. And I did that by pressing that little plus sign, but then if I press on the name, I'm going to have to edit formula. I'm going to create a formula to do that for me. So to do that, I'm going to type in count. Okay. And I want the value. Again, you'll notice that the top, the labeling of under items, the header is value. So value equals, and then I want B. So I'm going to put that in quotation marks, B. And you're going to notice that it will fill in. Okay, and so each sample, it determined the number of black cards that were drawn. So now what I want to do is I want to do some extra work here. I want to generate multiple replications of this experiment, conducting multiple experiments. So before I go too far, let's put in some formulas, but we need to do that at this case because I'm going to do the analysis here. So what I want to do is I'm going to do another count, and at this level I want to count. First of all, I'm going to call this frequency REQ of the black card of 2 black. Frequency, let's label this 2 black. This may be different in simulation I did earlier, but this is just a name I'm going to use because I want to know the frequency, how many of those had 2 black cards. So as I do that, I'm going to edit my formula. I'm going to do count again. And this time, so I make sure I get the right one. I have the number of black, that's my variable under my samples. So I click on that, and I'm going to hit equals 2, because that's the number I want. And we hit apply. And you're going to notice that 23 of those 100 samples had 2 black cards drawn. So then what I want to do, just easily, I want to compute that relative frequency. And I can make the easy formula here. And insert a value. And in this particular case, since I'm doing 100, I'm going to do frequency 2 black. And in this case, I'm going to divide by 100. So there I've got my relative frequency. So now there's just a little bit of a tweak that you have to do to be able to get this to do another experiment. I want to repeat this experiment a couple times, and then I'll show you some of the features of the graph. So what I want to do is I want to change this name. I'm going to call this, instead of experiment 1, I'm going to change that to experiment 2. And then if you'll notice, if I start it up again, it'll create a second experiment. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to change that 1 to a 3, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to create a third experiment. So the cool part of this is graphs are very easy to use and very intuitive, and you can do a lot of different things with the graph. So there's some different things I want to see. Now I would go through and I could quickly do 20 experiments so I can see some, do some pattern noticing. But right now I just want to show you some of the features of the graph. So again, I'm going to make several graphs here just to show you the different types that you could make. And the first graph that I want to make is, I just want to give a sense of percentage of each. So I'm going to go ahead and drag, let's drag the value over. Actually, no, let's not drag the value. Let's drag the number of black cards. Let's look at what we're doing here between the experiments. Not very cool yet, but then I drag the experiment over. Couldn't drag it that time. There we go. I can see that across the experiments, that's what I have for my percentages of each type of draw. And I just noticed one little tweak that I need to go in, and I need to edit the attribute properties, and this is actually categorical, excuse me. So I'm going to grab that, and you're going to see that whole thing change. Hopefully, let's see. May have to re-drag that over again to see if that changes. Let's do that again. Let's just delete that puppy and try it again. So bring that over. And I change that attribute to a categorical, I believe, this time. Yeah, there we go. And then my experiments. That's a little better. That's kind of how that plays out. And then I can also go in. I want my percentages. Across my rows, I could do columns if I want, but I'm really looking across experiments so I can kind of see what I have for each, the percentage of each. Okay, and then I also have the luxury of going in and creating some different graphs. Again, I have a lot of flexibility. It's very easy. Just click on the button, and let's say I want to look at the relative frequencies, the variability in the relative frequency. So I'll put that down there, and that kind of gives me a feel for what's going on there. And then I want to make one more graph because I want to show what the heck is going on across the different graphs. So let's do one more graph. And let's look at, do value this time. Okay, and then we're going to go across the samples. Can get a feel for that. And let's see, we want to do one more thing here. Kind of forgotten what that was. So I got that one already. And I want to look at one more item that may be helpful to me. Again, I'm going to delete this one again. One more graph that might be helpful to me is I'm going to look at the variation in relative frequencies across And again, students have flexibility. Let's do this across experiments. So we're going to get a little bit of a different feature here. So again, the cool part is that once you start this process, you can go back in and make some tweaks. So let's say I want to do another experiment. So again, as I did before, instead of experiment 1, I'm going to change that to experiment 4. I'm going to hit start, and you'll notice that it will fill in, and the order, you're going to see the counts happen. And again, the nice part is of this, you can grab that, you can move that experiment so it's in the correct order, and I'll do that for each one. But you can start to see some trends happen, and students can begin to notice some patterns in some of the structure that actually is happening within a random process. They still have the flexibility to see. So again, that's the setup for the playing cards simulation. I can put playing cards up here. I can save it. I have the option of creating, sharing it, getting a link so that all my students, if I send that link with them, they'll see whatever I've saved or a link to this particular document of what I've done at that moment in time. So again, I can keep doing this. Again, just, like I said, you've got a lot of flexibility in terms of the type of graphs. Students can really tinker and build graphs that shed light on an idea that maybe they weren't able to see in a different structure of the graph as I did earlier. So there's a lot of flexibility here. You can move, let's say, I know I'm not going to have any down here, so I can gently move these so more show up. There we go. So again, there's a lot of power. You can even add that if you want, and then a line will be put. You can put a movable line in. So there's a lot of features that CODAP enables students to engage with very quickly, and honestly, they'll be teaching you ideas fairly quickly once you turn students loose with this. So hope this was helpful in setting up a simulation for you, and thank you again for your time.